EcoSite, basically center locations that we have, the 3 waste and recycle locations for free. And there's a program that runs from April 4th to May 17th. And the communication for this program is already shared in a number of different ways. Key messages shared with election and bylaw communications. Election Canada will send our information to returning officers in Calgary so they can pass it on to the Calgary candidates. And Waste and Recycling Services has already updated information to what goes where on our website. Also, 311 will be updated with information. And finally, Waste and Recycling Services is prepared to respond to any questions or inquiries from constituents that ward offices would pass along.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I'm going to put myself in the queue for question period, and this one, I'm gonna try to pose it in a very clear way. I know that there is an independent review underway for the Bearspaw South feeder main incident. I understand that it's independent, so I'm not sure if anybody here can answer the question, but does the scope of that review afford the opportunity to also look at our wastewater network? And you don't have to tell me yes or no. I'm just wondering how you would go about asking the chair of that independent review and how we would get an answer back.
Thank you for the question, Mayor Gondek. I'll take that so I can actually confirm yes, that the scope of the independent review will include all aspects of our water utility, which includes potable water, of course, and infrastructure, wastewater, and stormwater. As you probably recall, Mr. Siegfried Kiefer, who was the chair of the independent review panel, was selected and appointed, in December. I know Mr. Kiefer is very close to finalizing the recruitment process for the panel members, and also close to finalizing the mandate of that panel. And he will be publicly making a statement here probably within the next few weeks about the panel members and the formal mandate. But I can also confirm that the review panel will be made up of industry experts who will review key functional aspects of our water utility, such as operations and maintenance, assurance and risk management, planning, design and engineering, budget and financing, and finally governance and organizational responsibility.
Okay, thank you for that. Let's go to the agenda. Can I get a mover for the agenda, please? Councillor McLean, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Thaliwal. I don't see any questions on the agenda. Madam Clerk, is there anything we need to add?
Nothing on the agenda, Mayor Gondek. I do have one procedural motion after.
Okay, I think, Councillor Penner, do you have something on the agenda?
Yeah, I do have something on the agenda. There is a letter for, sorry, my computer is total frozen, so I'm trying to just work off my phone quickly. For the SEEP program, for the update to the business portion of the SEEP, there is a letter from BOMA that needs to be added to the package. I actually believe Clerks has this motion.
Let me just confirm.
We were made aware that a letter was distributed, but we don't have a motion submitted by a member of council, so we'll quickly prepare it now. Councillor Penner, what item is it for?
That's a great question. I can't get into my computer.
I can tell you, it's the Clean Energy Improvement Program is 7.3.2.
Correct. So following confirmation of agenda, we do have one procedural to add a letter from Councillor Wong that will give us enough time to prepare the BOMA letter for 732.
Great, thanks. And sorry, my apologies. I thought administration had forwarded that.
If there is anyone from administration that has the language, if you could forward it, thank you very much. Okay, perfect. So, Councillor Wong, I think it's not on the agenda, it's on the next thing, right? So it's not on the agenda, it's after, correct? Okay. So on the agenda as proposed, is there anyone opposed? Seeing and hearing none, that is carried. Over to you, Councillor Wong.
Thank you, Mayor. On item 7.3.3, we received a letter from Heritage Calgary that would like to add to the corporate record.
Okay, that motion is before us. Who would like to second this? Councillor Sharp? No discussion on this? Nope. So on this motion as presented, anyone opposed? Seeing and hearing none, that is carried.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to go to Councillor Penner for this one. This is what you just spoke about. Who would like to second this, please? Councillor Sharp, thank you. Not seeing any discussion on this one. So on this motion, is there anyone opposed? Seeing and hearing none, that is carried. All right. With that, we are going to get into the public hearing. So we'll do a switcheroo of people in the seats. And I'll just let everyone know what happens during public hearing. For all the items that are under section 7, which is planning matters for public hearing, we start with a presentation from administration. They highlight the recommendations of Calgary Planning Commission or the Infrastructure and Planning Committee. We then open up the public hearing. Typically, if the applicant is here, they go first, and then I go through a list of registered speakers, those in favor and those against. It's a rotation between those. Council's restricted in public hearings to the items of land use, so the use and not the user. And for every public hearing matter, all members of council must remain amenable to persuasion. Public speakers, you will each have 5 minutes to make your presentation. If you are here in person, there is a clock up at the podium to help you keep track of time. If you are dialing in remotely, if you could keep track of time at home, that would be great. I will have to cut you off at the 5-minute mark. We may have a need to establish panels of 5 speakers if there are a lot of people registered for an item. That means that 5 people will come up, you'll sit at the front, each of you will speak. When you are done, then we'll go to questions of the entire panel. There is no provision in our procedure bylaw to allow people to defer their 5 minutes to somebody else, so each person has 5 minutes. There's no clumping of 5 minutes for a longer period of time. Once we are finished with all the public speakers, we close the public hearing. We then go to questions of administration. Then I'll look for someone to move the item. We'll have debate, and then we will do the vote. Members of council, if I can remind you to only put in your request to speak for whatever thing we are dealing with, that would be great. If you have questions of presenters, put your request to speak in then. If it's questions of administration, please wait till we start that process. And with that, I'm actually going to turn things over to Councillor Wong because I think we have some special guests in the audience today.
Thank you, Mayor and colleagues. This morning we have grade 2-3 students from Queen Elizabeth School, and the kids are attended with their teacher, Emily Wenzel, and they're here with us today to ask the question, how do stories teach and connect us? So with that, I look forward to meeting you tomorrow, but if you could all stand up and we can all greet you.
You're going to love your meeting with them tomorrow. I had a chance to meet with them yesterday, and there are some smart questions coming out of this group.
Thank you.
Enjoy your time here, everybody. It was great to see you yesterday. All right, with that, we are moving on to the first item. It is 7.2.1. It's Ms. Ganzar. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Gondek, and good morning, members of council. The first item on the agenda this morning is a land use redesignation application to allow for grade-oriented housing. Next slide, please. The recommendation before council is to give 3 readings to proposed bylaw 52D 2025 for the redesignation of 503 35th Street Northwest from the residential grade-oriented infill or RCG district to the housing grade-oriented or HGO district. Next slide, please. The subject parcel is located in the community of Parkdale at the north corner of 3rd Avenue and 35th Street Northwest. Next slide, please. The site is approximately 0.05 hectares in size and is currently developed with a single detached dwelling with an attached garage accessed from 35th Street. Next slide, please. Surrounding development consists of a mix of single detached houses shown in yellow and semi-detached houses shown in orange. The adjacent parcel to the north is designated as the HGO district, and multi-residential developments are shown to the west and east in brown. A commercial area is located 3 blocks to the southeast, which includes restaurants, retail and personal services, and auto services. The Parkdale Community Association and related facilities are located approximately 2 blocks to the east. The parcel is currently designated as the RCG district, which allows for a variety of low-density housing forms, including row houses and townhouses. The maximum building height in the RCG district is 11 meters, and the maximum density is 75 units per hectare. Based on parcel area, this site currently allows up to 3 dwelling units. Next slide, please. The proposed HGO district allows for a variety of grade-oriented housing forms that are contextually appropriate in low-density areas and where dwelling units may be attached or stacked within a shared building or a cluster of buildings. The maximum building height is 12 meters and the maximum floor area ratio is 1.5. Next slide, please. For these reasons, and in the report before you, Calgary Planning Commission recommends that Council give 3 readings to the proposed bylaw for the redesignation of the subject site. Thank you, Mayor Gondek.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Let's open the public hearing on this item. It is 7.2.1. Do we have Mike Borchrystal? Mike Borchrystal? Mike, if you're on the line, there's something weird going on with your phone. Okay, is there anyone else wishing to speak to item 7.2.1? Mr. Borchrystal, we'll try you one more time. Okay. I'm going to have to close the public hearing on this item because I don't see or hear anybody else. So this one is closed. Questions of administration, anyone? Go ahead, Councillor Wong.
Thank you, Mayor. In the package of submissions from the public, one of the questions was asked with regards to Parkdale, and in particular this particular roadway itself, is the degree of parking, given that the HGO and the number of housing units is there, the number of cars that potentially be there. Is there any plans for looking at transportation and parking in the Parkdale area, especially given that folks up at the Foothills Hospital typically park in the area? There's concerns about residential parking permits and the violations associated. Do you know if there's any studies pending for that area?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Wong. Shane Le Batelier, Development Engineering. We monitor all parts of the city for parking through our traffic team. This area in particular does have, sorry, I had it right here, on-street parking available with residential parking zone S for 2 hours Monday to Friday. And it is in a parking zone, so people can come apply to change the way those parking restrictions work. But that is intended to, only local residents are permitted to get those resident permit parking passes, and our traffic team does continue to monitor all these areas based upon 311s and development in the area. So we'll continue to monitor. We don't see any issues today with this development in relation to parking.
Okay. So with regards to the HGO application, the secondary suites that are in there, they are not eligible for parking permits, is that right?
Everything in an HGO is eligible for parking permits, yes.
All units?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That was it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions of administration, so I'm looking for a mover, please. Councillor Wong.
Thank you, Mayor. This is again an HGO application on a neighborhood collector road, and as many know, this is a connector that connects people not only from Parkdale downtown, but also all the way out to Bowness. There is a transit service that's there within 200 meters, but also a BRT transit service that's in the area as well that, again, services this area and makes it suitable for an HGO. Thank you.
Can I get a seconder for this, please? Councillor Sharp, thank you. I don't see anybody in the queue for debate. Over to you to close, Councillor Wong.
We're close, thank you.
Thanks. E-scribe to vote, everyone.
Councillor Spencer, your vote, please. Oh, thank you. Councillor Sharp, your vote, please.
Yes.
Thank you. And Councillor Chabot, your vote, please.
Yes.
Mayor Gondik, all the votes are in.
Thank you. Could you display the results, please? That's carried unanimously. First reading of bylaw 52D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried. Second reading of bylaw 52D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried. Authorization for third reading of bylaw 52D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried unanimously. Third reading of bylaw 52D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that is carried. Council, if you could just check your mics and turn them off, please, that would be great. Let's go to 7.2.2, Ms. Ganzar.
Thank you, Mayor Gondek. The next item on the agenda is another land use redesignation application to allow for grade-oriented housing. Next slide, please. The recommendation before council is to give 3 readings to proposed bylaw 61D 2025 for the redesignation of 2636 Capitol Hill Crescent Northwest from the residential grade-oriented infill or RCG district to the housing grade-oriented or HGO district. Next slide, please. The subject parcel is located in the community of Banff Trail on the east side of Capitol Hill Crescent within 600 meters of the University LRT station. Next slide, please. The site is approximately 0.07 hectares in area and is currently developed with a single detached dwelling with a front attached garage accessed from the street. Next slide, please. Surrounding development consists of a mix of single detached and semi-detached houses and multi-residential developments. The adjacent parcel to the north is designated as the HGO district, and a mixed-use development is located at the south end of the block that contains a restaurant and office uses. Banff Trail Elementary School, William Aberhart High School, and the University of Calgary are all located within a few blocks of the subject site. The subject parcel is currently designated as the RCG district, which allows for a variety of low-density housing forms, including row houses and townhouses. The maximum building height is 11 meters, and the maximum density is 75 units per hectare. Based on parcel area, the site currently allows up to 5 dwelling units. Next slide, please. The proposed HGO district allows for a variety of grade-oriented housing forms that are contextually appropriate in low-density areas and where dwelling units may be attached or stacked within a shared building or a cluster of buildings. The maximum building height is 12 meters and the maximum floor area ratio is 1.5. Next slide, please. For the reasons identified in the report before you, Calgary Planning Commission recommends that council give 3 readings to the proposed bylaw for the redesignation of the subject parcel. Thank you, Mayor Gondek.
Thanks very much for your presentation. Let's open the public hearing on this item. It is 7.2.2. Do we have Nick Hahn? Okay. Do we have anyone else wishing to speak to 7.2.2? Not seeing or hearing anyone, so I'll close the public hearing on this item. I'm not seeing any questions of administration either, so I'm looking for a mover on this one, please. Councillor Wong, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, colleagues. Again, another HGO application in the community of Banff Trail. As indicated by administration, this is in a recently approved South Shaganappi LAP area and therefore qualify for HGO. In addition to that, it is within proximity of LRT station and most definitely the University of Calgary, where there are a lot of need for housing of students. So I look forward to approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Chabot. Okay. Don't see anyone else in the queue. Over to you to close, Councillor Wong.
We're closed. Thank you.
Thank you. E-scribe to vote, please.
Mayor Gondik, all the votes are in.
Thank you. Could you display the results, please? That's carried unanimously. First reading of bylaw 61D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried. Second reading of bylaw 61D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried. Authorization for third reading of bylaw 61D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried unanimously. Third reading of bylaw 61D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that is carried. Ms. Ganzar, let's go to 7.2.3.
Thank you, Mayor Gondek. Just 1 second, please. My computer just did something funky.
That's all right. Happens to the best of us.
Okay, back at it. The next item on the agenda is a land use redesignation application to allow for grade-oriented housing. Next slide, please, clerks. The recommendation before council is to give 3 readings to proposed bylaw 53D 2025 for the redesignation of 2364 23rd Street Northwest from the residential grade-oriented infill or RCG district to a direct control or DC district. Next slide, please. The subject parcel is located in the community of Banff Trail at the east corner of 23rd Avenue and 23rd Street Northwest, and 1 block east of the Banff Trail LRT station. Next slide, please. The site is approximately 0.06 hectares in size and is currently developed with a single detached dwelling and a detached garage accessed from 23rd Avenue. Next slide, please. Surrounding development consists primarily of single and semi-detached houses, shown in yellow and orange. Branton Middle School is located 2 blocks to the east, and the Banff Trail Community Association facilities are located approximately 2 blocks to the southeast. Motel Village is located 1 block to the west and provides many amenities, such as restaurants, auto services, personal services, and office uses. The site is currently designated as the RCG district, which allows for a variety of low-density housing forms. The maximum building height in the district is 11 meters, and the maximum density is 75 units per hectare. Based on parcel area, the site currently allows up to 4 dwelling units. Next slide, please. This application proposes a direct control district based on the HGO district. The DC district differs by precluding uses that could result in 1 or 2 unit developments. By setting a minimum density of 80 units per hectare, this ensures at least 4 units are constructed on the site in such close proximity to an LRT line. The DC district also replaces the dwelling unit permitted use with multi-residential development to further support the minimum density that is being sought in this location. Next slide, please. For the reasons identified today and in the report before you, Calgary Planning Commission recommends that council give 3 readings to the proposed bylaw for the redesignation of this parcel. Thank you, Mayor Gondek.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Let's open the public hearing on this item. It is 7.2.3. Do we have Lee Wang? Lee Wang? Anybody else wishing to speak to 7.2.3? Okay, I'm not seeing or hearing anyone, so I will close the public hearing on this item. I'm also not seeing any questions of administration, so I'm looking for a mover, please. Councillor Spencer.
Yeah, happy to move this application, multifamily close to a train station, and appreciate that the DC makes sure that multifamily is safe and the developer can move forward without any concern.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder on this one, please? Councillor Walcott, thank you. Over to you, Councillor Wong.
Thank you, Mayor. I was hoping the applicant was here. I was going to ask questions of him, and particularly the concern that residents in the area have expressed about development. For those that may or may not have read the full report, this particular property has a restricted covenant, and as much as administration and council is not bound by a restricted covenant, there are concerns about the development itself that I was hoping to ask the applicant. But given the applicant's not here, I can't ask the question, therefore I can't determine which way to go. So with that, I'm going to not support this. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see anybody else in the queue, so over to you to close. Councillor Spencer.
Closed.
E-scribe to vote, please.
Mayor Gondek, all the votes are in.
Thank you. Could you display the results, please? That's carried 10-4 with councillors McLean, Wong, Chu, and Sharp voting against. First reading of bylaw 53D, 2025. Anyone opposed? Councillors Wong, Chu, Sharp, and McLean are opposed, and that is carried. Second reading of bylaw 53D, 2025. Anyone opposed? Same division of councillors are opposed, and that is carried. Authorization for third reading of bylaw 53D, 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried unanimously. Third reading of bylaw 53D, 2025. Anyone opposed? Same division of councillors are opposed, and that is carried. Ms. Ganzer, we're on to 7.2.4.
Thank you, Mayor Gondek. The next item on the agenda is a policy amendment to enable the concurrent development of an 8-unit multi-residential development. Next slide, please. The recommendation before council is to give 3 readings to proposed bylaw 31P 2025 for an amendment to the Bridgeland Riverside Area Redevelopment Plan, or ARP. Next slide, please. The subject parcels are located at 411 and 413 2nd Avenue Northeast in the community of Crescent Heights. Next slide, please. The site is located on the south side of 2nd Avenue Northeast between 3rd Street to the west and 4th Street to the east. The site consists of 2 parcels with a combined area of 0.06 hectares. Next slide, please. Surrounding development consists of a mix of single detached houses and multi-residential developments. The site is located a half block west of the Edmonton Trail Urban Main Street, which forms part of the primary transit network and provides a wide range of commercial and retail uses. Next slide, please. A text amendment to the Bridgeland Riverside ARP, which does cover this portion of Crescent Heights, is required to exempt the subject site from a specific parking rate, which was originally intended to address parking around the former General Hospital. To enable development on this subject site, the parking rate for multi-residential districts in the land use bylaw, which would otherwise apply, is the more appropriate and consistent approach. Next slide, please. For these reasons and the reasons identified in the report, Calgary Planning Commission recommends that council give 3 readings to the proposed bylaw for the Bridgeland Riverside ARP amendment. Thank you, Mayor Gondek.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Let's open the public hearing on this item. It is 7.2.4. Do we have anyone wishing to speak to this one? All right, I'm not seeing or hearing anyone on 7.2.4. I'll close the public hearing on this item. I'm also not seeing any questions of administration, so I'm looking for a mover. Councillor Wong.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a very straightforward application, and just looking for your support. Thank you.
Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Walcott, thank you. Don't see anybody in the queue for debate. Back to you to close, Councillor Wong.
Close, thank you.
Thank you. E-scribe to vote, please.
Mayor Gondek, all the votes are in.
Thank you. Could you display the results, please? That's carried unanimously. First reading of bylaw 31P 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried. Second reading of bylaw 31P 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried. Authorization for third reading of bylaw 31P 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried unanimously. Third reading of bylaw 31P 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that is carried. There's a question from the clerks. Or not?
Apologies, Mayor. My finger just hit the wrong button at the wrong time.
Keeping me on my toes. Thank you for that. All right, let's go to 7.2.5.
Thank you, Mayor. The next item on the agenda is a policy amendment and land use redesignation application to enable a multi-residential development. Next slide, please. The recommendation before council is to give 3 readings to proposed bylaw 32P 2025 for an amendment to the Mission Area Redevelopment Plan and proposed bylaw 57D 2025 for the redesignation of 101 25th Avenue Southwest to remove the density modifier from the existing multi-residential high-density medium rise or MH2 district. Next slide, please. The subject parcel is located in the southwest community of Mission, on the south side of 25th Avenue within 600 meters of the Earlton Stampede LRT station. Next slide, please. The parcel is approximately 0.16 hectares in size and is currently developed with a 3-story multi-residential development accessed from the street. Next slide, please. Surrounding development consists primarily of multi-residential developments. The Elbow River Pathway is located immediately adjacent to the site to the east, and the 4th Street neighborhood Main Street is located approximately 3 blocks to the west, which provides a wide range of commercial and retail uses. The parcel is currently designated as the MH2 district, which is intended for high-density, mid-rise multi-residential developments. The maximum floor area ratio, or FAR, is 5.0, and the maximum building height is 50 meters, or approximately 16 stories. However, this parcel currently has a density modifier of 160 units per hectare, which, based on parcel area, only allows up to 25 units. Next slide, please. The proposed MH2 district without a density modifier would not limit the maximum density and would instead allow the maximum FAR and building height to determine unit count and building form. The rest of the district rules would remain unchanged. Next slide, please. In addition to the land use amendment, this application also includes a proposed amendment to the Mission Area Redevelopment Plan. The site currently falls within the high-density residential area as per map 4 of the ARP, which limits density to a maximum of 395 units per hectare. To enable the intended redevelopment of the site, a text amendment to Section 6 of the ARP is required to allow a maximum density of 463 units per hectare on the subject parcel. Next slide, please. For the reasons identified today and in the report before you, Calgary Planning Commission recommends that Council give 3 readings to the proposed bylaws for the amendment to the Mission ARP and for the redesignation to the subject site. Thank you, Mayor Gondek.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Let's open the public hearing on this item. It is 7.2.5. Do we have anyone wishing to speak to this one? Anyone on 7.2.5? Seeing and hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on this item. I don't see any questions of administration. Let's go to Councillor Walcott to move the item.
Happy to move. As presented, it's a pretty straightforward change about where the modifier sits. In this change, it'll just sit within the ARP from, I think it was 365 units per hectare to 460. And for practical sense, what that means is it's a 3 to 4 story building is going to a 6-story building if it all will go right. And it's surrounded by 15-story buildings, so I'm okay with it. Happy to move.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for this, please? Councillor Spencer, thank you. I don't see anyone in the queue for debate. Over to you to close, Councillor Walcott.
Closed.
E-scribe to vote, please.
Mayor Gondek, all the votes are in.
Thank you. Could you display the results, please? That's carried unanimously. First reading of bylaw 32P 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried. Second reading of bylaw 32P 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried. Authorization for third reading of bylaw 32P 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried unanimously. Third reading of bylaw 32P 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that is carried. First reading of bylaw 57D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried. Second reading of bylaw 57D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried. Authorization for third reading of bylaw 57D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried unanimously. Third reading of bylaw 57D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that is carried. We will be skipping item 7.2.6 because it is time to be after the lunch break. So let's go to 7.2.7. It's still Ms. Ganzar.
Thank you, Mayor Gondek. This is my last item today. This next item on the agenda is a policy amendment to allow for various forms of low-density housing. Next slide, please. The recommendation before council is to give 3 readings to proposed bylaw 33P 2025 for amendments to the Milliken-Ogden Area Redevelopment Plan, or ARP. Next slide, please. The subject parcel is located at 7804 22nd Street Southeast in the community of Ogden. Next slide, please. The site is located at the southeast corner of 78th Avenue and 22nd Street Southeast and is currently developed with a single detached dwelling and a detached garage accessed from the rear lane. Next slide, please. Surrounding development consists primarily of single detached and semi-detached houses. A place of worship is located directly across the street to the north, shown in blue, and El Medina Middle School is located 4 blocks to the west. A commercial center is located approximately 6 blocks to the west that provides a grocery store, restaurants, retail stores, and personal services. Next slide, please. The subject parcel currently falls within the low-density conservation area as per map 5 of the Milliken-Ogden ARP, which is intended for single detached housing. In order to align redevelopment of the site with the existing residential grade-oriented infill district, 2 amendments to the ARP are proposed. First, an amendment to map 5 is required to change the parcel's typology to low to medium density multi-dwelling residential. And second, a text amendment is required to the residential land use policy section to allow a maximum density of 75 units per hectare on the subject site, which also aligns with the RCG district. Next slide, please. For these reasons, Calgary Planning Commission recommends that council give 3 readings to the proposed bylaw for the Milliken-Ogden ARP amendments. Thank you, Mayor Gondek.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Let's open the public hearing on this item. It is 7.2.7. Do we have Lee Wang?
Yes, you may.
Hi,
Can you
please
hear
go
me
ahead.
now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. First of all, I apologize. I was here for the last item, but it couldn't go through. Now I redial in. Seems it goes through now. Nevertheless, this item is a corner lot. We have a proposed 4 units row house. This application is simply to amend the local area plan, the area redevelopment plan, so to align with the zoning. I hope councillors can support this. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm not seeing any questions for you in the queue, so thanks for taking the time to join us today. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to 7.2.7? Seeing and hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on this item. Let's go to Councillor Sharp with a question of admin.
Yeah, just quickly, when was the LAP done and has it ever been updated since then?
Thank you, Councillor Sharp. I don't have the exact date of the ARP. It is quite dated. You can even tell by the graphics and the text. The ARP in Ogden, or Milliken-Ogden, is actually special in that it's contained within the Community Revitalization Plan, which again is quite dated, decades. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact date on hand, but yeah.
Okay, no, it's fair if you don't have the exact date. It looks old, so I was just wondering. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions in the queue, so I'm looking for a mover on this one. Councillor Craw.
Yeah, I'm happy to move it. The Ogden ARP is very old. We tried to sort of kick off the local area planning process in the communities of Southeast Calgary that were getting Green Line stations, and we didn't quite get there. So there is a local area plan pending that will address all of the changes that will be brought when Ogden receives 2 Green Line stations. This is totally in the wheelhouse of what the planning policy will say. 78th Avenue is an important east-west connector for multi-use, and I think we'll see active modes running along that corridor as well. And this is the boundary between Ogden proper to the north and Ogden Flats to the south, but totally in the wheelhouse of normal redevelopment and certainly in the wheelhouse of what we should expect to see with the green line coming in the next couple of years. Happy to move it in 3 readings of the bylaw.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Spencer, thank you. I don't see anyone for debate. Over to you to close, Councillor Carra.
I'm closed.
Thank you. E-scribe to vote, please. Do we need a minute to launch?
If you can just give us a brief moment.
Yep.
Mayor, we're just trying to figure out what's going on with e-scribe here. Mayor Gondek, the vote has now been spawned.
Thank you.
Councillor Chu is absent, so we'll just mark him as absent, and Mayor Gondek, with that, all the votes are in.
Okay, could you display the results, please? That is carried 11-2 with Councillor Sharp and Chabot voting against. First reading of bylaw 33P 2025. Anyone opposed? Councillor Sharp and Chabot are opposed, and that is carried. Second reading of bylaw 33P 2025. Anyone opposed? Same division of councillors opposed, and that is carried. Authorization for third reading of bylaw 33P 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried unanimously. Third reading of bylaw 33P 2025. Anyone opposed? Same division of councillors are opposed, and that is carried. Thank you, Ms. Ganzar, for your time today. Let's go to Ms. Stengel with item 7.2.8.
Thank you, Mayor Gondek. My name is Courtney Stengel, and I'll be presenting the next section of items on the agenda today. Item 8 is a land use amendment to allow for consolidation with the neighboring parcel in order to develop grade-oriented housing across the consolidated site. Next slide, please. The recommendation before Council is to give 3 readings to proposed bylaw 51D 2025 for the redesignation of 1509 37th Street Southeast from the residential grade-oriented infill RCG district to the housing grade-oriented HGO district. Next slide, please. The subject site is located in the southeast community of Forest Lawn, east of Deerfoot Trail, and 2 blocks north of 17th Avenue, which is identified as an urban main street and part of the primary transit network in the municipal development plan. The Max Purple route runs along 17th Avenue, as can be seen here. Next slide, please. The subject site is located mid-block along 37th Street and is currently developed with a single detached home with an attached garage accessed from the rear lane. Next slide, please. Surrounding development is primarily characterized by a mix of low-density single-detached and semi-detached homes north of 16th Avenue with multi-residential development between 16th and 17th Avenue. A variety of multi-residential and housing grade-oriented designated sites are located throughout the single and semi-detached home area as well and are at varying stages of development. The subject site and neighboring parcels were designated as the residential grade-oriented infill RCG district through the Main Streets project in 2017. The RCG district, which allows for a variety of low-density grade-oriented building forms, including single-detached, semi-detached duplexes, row houses, and townhouses. The maximum height in the district is 11 meters and allows for a maximum density of 75 units per hectare, which would allow for 4 dwelling units here. Next slide, please. The proposed housing grade-oriented HGO district would allow for a variety of building forms that are attached, stacked, or clustered. It allows for a maximum building height of 12 meters and a maximum floor area ratio of 1.5. The applicant has indicated the intent is to consolidate this parcel with the neighboring HGO parcel to allow for a comprehensive development across both sites. Next slide, please. The proposal is within the East Calgary International Avenue Community's local area plan, which identifies the site as being within the neighborhood connector urban form category with a building scale modifier of low up to 6 stories. This meets the location criteria within the HGO district, which is in alignment with the local area plan. Next slide, please. The proposed HGO district allows for an increase of housing near the primary transit network and an urban main street in alignment with the LAP. Calgary Planning Commission supports the application and recommends that Council give 3 readings to the proposed bylaw. Thank you, Mayor Gondek.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Let's open the public hearing on this item. It is 7.2.8. Do we have Paul Needham?
Hello, Mayor Gondek and members of council. My name is Paul Needham, urban planner with Civic Works, and we are the applicant representing our client, developer Building, EC Living. Next slide, please. As presented by administration, the site context supports diversified missing middle housing options as it is within walking distance of primary network transit service such as the MAX BRT, parks, schools, community amenities, and local commercial options along International Avenue Main Street, providing a range of destinations and services to meet residents' daily needs. Next slide, please. The proposed change is fully aligned with the East Calgary International Avenue Community's local area plan, as the subject site is within the Neighborhood Connector Urban Form and low building scale categories, which enable the HGO district within local area plans, supporting a range of housing options of up to 6 stories. Next slide, please. This application is the result of a proposed consolidation with the parcel directly south of the subject site, previously approved as HGO by Council in May 2024. Consolidation of the properties would enable a comprehensive development with greater design flexibility for site layout, landscaping, amenity space, parking, and waste and recycling. The HGO district supports a maximum building height of up to 12 meters, or about 4 stories, though a maximum of 3 stories is proposed here. The consolidated development vision proposes 20 homes, including 12 larger townhome units and 8 secondary suites, all with at-grade entries. And in alignment with the HGO district rules, 10 vehicle parking stalls and 20 secure mobility storage lockers or Class 1 bike stalls are proposed within the submitted development permit that is being reviewed concurrently. Next slide, please. The project team undertook a multi-channel community outreach process starting in December of 2024. Implementing several of the outreach strategies that are shown on this slide. The applicant team shared information and provided opportunities for engagement with the Forest Lawn Community Association, community members, and the Ward 9 office at project launch. The applicant team received no community feedback on this application. An applicant-led outreach summary has been prepared and has been included on the public record for this hearing. Next slide, please. This concludes our presentation, and we kindly ask for council support on this application. The applicant team would be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I don't see any questions for you in the queue, so thanks for taking the time to be here today. And let me ask, is there anyone else wishing to speak to 7.2.8? All right, I'm not seeing or hearing anyone else, so I'll close the public hearing on this item. I'm also not seeing any questions of administration, so I'm looking for a mover on this one, please. Councillor Craw.
Yeah, I'm happy to move this. I was texting with Councillor Spencer about how we are seeing significant redevelopment in the communities of Greater Forest Lawn, and it's lovely. I look forward to seeing actual Main Street development on the avenue, but we're seeing a tremendous amount of infill housing, missing middle projects, and 37th is a great location for this HGO. 36th is one of the active modes corridors. It's an important street, and the city will be spending money on 36 to create active modes connecting east, north, and south. And it's going to be a great opportunity to provide housing supply in a neighborhood that needs it and needs the supply to keep the rents down. So happy to support this.
Thank you. I'm looking for a seconder. Councillor Thaliwal, thank you. Don't see anybody in the queue for debate. Over to you to close, Councillor Craw.
I'm closed.
E-scribe to vote, please.
Councillor Gibault, your vote, please.
No.
Thank you. Mayor Gondek, all the votes are in.
Thank you. Could you display the results, please? That's carried 10-3 with Councilors McLean, Sharp, and Chabot voting against. First reading of bylaw 51D, 2025. Anyone opposed? Councilors McLean, Chabot, and Sharp are opposed, and that is carried. Second reading of bylaw 51D, 2025. Anyone opposed? Same division of councilors are opposed, and that's carried. Authorization for third reading of bylaw 51D, 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried unanimously. Third reading of bylaw 51D, 2025. Anyone opposed? Same division of councilors are opposed, and that is carried. Ms. Stengel, let's go to 7.2.9.
Thank you, Mayor Gondek. Item 9 is a land use amendment to allow for mixed-use development. Next slide, please. The recommendation before Council is to give 3 readings to proposed bylaw 60D 2025 for the redesignation of 901 68th Street Southeast from the Commercial Corridor 1 C-Corp 1 District and Multi-Residential Grade-Oriented MCG District to the Mixed-Use Active Frontage MU2 District. Next slide, please. The subject site is located in the southeast community of Red Carpet. It is southeast of the CN Railway and north of 17th Avenue, which is part of the primary transit network and includes the Max Purple route. Elliston Park is located south of the site along 17th Avenue as well. Next slide, please. The site is located mid-block along 68th Street at the intersection with Applewood Drive. It is part of a larger area that is currently undergoing various stages of development, with this portion currently vacant. You can just see the edge of the ball diamond at the neighboring Mount View Park visible at the lower portion of this image as well. Next slide, please. Surrounding development east of 68th Street is primarily low-density residential, with development west of 68th Street being primarily multi-residential. Some commercial is available across the street, and Mount View Park is shown in green. The subject site is currently designated under 2 land use districts. A sliver of the northern portion of the site is currently multi-residential contextual grade-oriented MCG district, which allows for building forms such as row houses and townhouses with a maximum height of 12 meters. The majority of the site is designated under the Commercial Corridor 1 district, which allows a mix of commercial and residential uses and requires a minimum of 20% to be commercial uses. This district allows a maximum floor area ratio of 3.0 and a maximum height of 16 meters. Next slide, please. The application proposes the mixed-use active frontage MU2 district to provide additional flexibility on the site. The MU2 district allows for a mixed-use development and requires commercial uses along the commercial street, which is similar to the current district, but has more flexibility on the ground floor area and uses that can satisfy this requirement. The proposal includes a maximum floor area ratio of 4.0 and a maximum height of 24 meters, which would allow for approximately 6 stories here. Next slide, please. The proposal is in alignment with the East Calgary International Avenue Community's local area plan, which identifies the site as being within the neighborhood commercial urban form category with a building scale modifier of low up to 6 stories. Next slide, please. This application allows for mixed-use development in alignment with the local area plan. Calgary Planning Commission supports the application and recommends that Council give 3 readings to the proposed bylaw. Thank you, Mayor Gondek.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Let's open the public hearing on this item. It is 7.2.9. Do we have Kathy Oberg?
Good morning, Mayor Gondek and members of council. I do have a presentation. Oh, perfect. We can go to slide 2. Thank you. I'm here working with the applicant team on behalf of Lansdowne in support of the application. This area here was designated as C-Corp in advance of the LAP. Lansdowne was not engaged in the discussions at that time. However, do want to work with the city on enabling some commercial uses within this area. The viability does allow for some viability along 68th Street, and so we've proposed some live-work units as well as some commercial at-grade uses. This is the gateway into this area. It's a unique area under construction. We've got some rented townhome units that are waiting for this land use within a development permit. This is a critical roadway access to enable that occupancy. We are looking at the future stages to the north with a current application also to enable additional rental units in this area, which is very exciting to be able to bring townhome rentals to the market. So we are in support and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much for your presentation. You have a question from Councillor Chabot.
Ms. Oberg, memory serves me correctly, I thought there was a plan to have some commercial at the other adjacent entrance to Applewood. Do you know anything about that?
There is commercial directly across at that intersection, directly across.
So there's two entries into Applewood. There's the southern entry, which I know there's commercial there. There's also a northern entry. And if memory serves me correctly, I thought originally that there was a plan to have some commercial adjacent to that entry.
And potentially, I'm unable to confirm that with you here today.
Okay. Yeah, I realize this is the only one that's before us at this point. I'm just curious to make sure that we don't, I guess, oversaturate the area. But this is primarily just at-grade type commercial.
Correct, and it will be just across the street from that existing commercial along 68th. You'll see the live-work units are located in the top picture, and we're activating those other ground floors. We're not trying to activate the full street. We're concerned that we won't have the viability for that given the other adjacent regional commercial and other community commercial in the area, but we want to get it into a mixed-use nature because we feel that we can support it with residential as well.
Yeah, no, there's very limited commercial across the street, so obviously
very localized in this location, for sure.
I may occasionally go there. Okay, there you go. Coming back from hockey. Yeah, thanks. No further questions.
Okay.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions for you in the queue. Thanks very much for taking the time to be here today. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to 7.2.9? Right, I'm not seeing or hearing anyone else, so I'll close the public hearing on this item. I am also not seeing any questions of administration, so I'm looking for a mover. Councillor Craw.
Yeah, I'll say this project has been in development for some years. It started out with a sort of partnership between, I believe, Sloker and Lansdowne. And Sloker has moved on, and Lansdowne is under new and extremely competent management. And the project is looking great. The townhome projects on the southern half, I've had the opportunity to tour through them. They're really high-quality units being offered at a really good price. The commitment through the local area plan is to transform 68th Street from a sound-walled sort of auto-focused street to a neighborhood street. And these townhomes put front doors onto 68th and will start to transform the character of that. And this gateway condition is providing a lot of really good housing. I will work closely with Lansdowne to check out the viability of potential commercial uses. There's also the amazing work that Momentum does in terms of working with entrepreneurs and getting small businesses going, and there's an opportunity for some live work stuff there. But they absolutely need the flexibility that this land use provides. And it's a great project that's emerging. It's achieving. I remember Mayor Nenshi admonishing Sloker when we first approved this, saying, you know, it has to be nice. And I can tell you that this is nice development. So I'm happy to support this.
Thank you. Councillor Chabot, you're seconding?
Yeah, no, I agree with Councillor Craw. These lands have been sitting vacant for many years, and there's been lots of different plans that have come forward over the years as what could occur on this site. Obviously, activating this site with more residential will help to support the commercial as well as help to support the commercial across the street. So based on the amount of development that's already occurred in close proximity, I have no doubt that the commercial will be viable, but it will also help to support the commercial across the street. So I'm happy to support this. I see this as complementary, not as a detriment to the area. I see it as a benefit. So happy to support it and encourage the rest of council to support it as well.
Thank you. I don't see anybody else in the queue. Over to you to close, Councillor Carra.
I'm closed.
Thank you. E-scribe to vote, please.
Mayor Gondek, all the votes are in.
Thank you. Could you display the results, please? That's carried unanimously. First reading of bylaw 60D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried. Second reading of bylaw 60D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried. Authorization for third reading of bylaw 60D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried unanimously. Third reading of bylaw 60D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that is carried. Ms. Stengel, let's go to 7.2.10.
Thank you, Mayor Gondek. Item 10 is another land use amendment to allow for mixed-use development. Next slide, please. The recommendation before Council is to give 3 readings to proposed bylaw 54D 2025 for the redesignation of 1804 34th Street Southeast from the Commercial Corridor 1 Secor 1 District to the Mixed-Use General MU1 District. Next slide, please. The subject site is located in the southeast community of Southview, east of Deerfoot Trail and the Western Irrigation District Canal, and about 100 meters south of 17th Avenue, which is identified as an urban main street and part of the primary transit network, and also includes the Max Purple route. Next slide, please. The site is located along 34th Street Southeast, across the lane from parcels fronting 17th Avenue. It is currently developed with a 1-story building and a garage. There is dual lane access along the northern and southern property lines. Next slide, please. Surrounding development south of 19th Avenue is low-density residential homes with a variety of commercial businesses and multi-residential homes located for several blocks on either side of 17th Avenue. The predominant land use districts along 17th Avenue are the mixed-use districts put in place through the Main Streets program. The site is currently designated as the Commercial Corridor 1 District, which allows a mix of commercial and residential uses and requires a minimum amount of commercial uses. This district allows a maximum floor area ratio of 2.5 in this location and a maximum height of 10 meters. Next slide, please. The application proposes the Mixed-Use General MU1 District to provide additional flexibility on the site. The MU1 district allows for a mixed-use development with options for commercial uses, but does not require them to be part of the future development. The proposal includes a maximum floor area ratio of 4.5 and a maximum height of 23 meters, which would allow for 6 stories here. Next slide, please. The proposal is in alignment with the East Calgary International Avenue Communities Local Area Plan, which identifies the site as being within the Neighborhood Flex Urban Form category with a building scale modifier of mid or up to 12 stories. Next slide, please. The recommendation allows for mixed-use development in alignment with the LAP. Calgary Planning Commission supports the application and recommends that Council give 3 readings to the proposed bylaw. Thank you, Mayor Gondek.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Let's open the public hearing on this item. It is 7.2.10. Do we have anyone interested in speaking to this one? Hi.
Mayor, members of council, my name is Jeannie Gartley and I'm here on behalf of Situated Consulting, and I'm just representing the applicant, Root Data Architects, and then the owners, Eagle Rock Builders, and I'm just here to answer any questions that council might have.
Thank you. I don't see any questions for you in the queue, so thanks for taking the time to be here. Is there anyone else interested in speaking to 7.2.10? Seeing and hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on this item. I don't see any questions of administration, so I'll look to a mover, Councillor Croft.
Yeah, this space, the blocks between the main street of 17th Avenue and 16th Avenue to the north and 19th Avenue to the south are sort of an exciting sort of zone where we're going to see a lot of urban density emerge. This is a very interesting lot. It's a small lot, and it's not going to the maximum height. It's just going with a tight little 6-story, and I'm personally gratified to see local landowners reinvesting in the community and providing rental housing that's needed. This is surrounded by an alley on 2 sides, so there's a lot of flexibility in terms of how to load cars and garbage and all of that. It fronts onto the former site of the Longview Apartments, which are currently under development or will be under development soon by Calgary Housing, and it'll be across the street from a 12-story building. And the spaces between the buildings in this project are going to be high-quality park and playground and basketball kind of spaces. And so it's a great place across the street, a block from, like next to the main street, across from park space, and just north of the incredible active modes corridor of 19th Street. It's going to be a great place to live. It's great to see local investment in the neighborhood. And because we've got different size parcels, we're going to see sort of a sawtooth arrangement. Some are going to be 3 stories, some are going to be 6 stories, some are going to be larger. I'm excited. This is exactly what we were looking for when we set the policy. I look forward to moving it in 3 readings of the bylaw.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for this, please? Councillor Chabot, thank you. Don't see anybody else in the queue. Over to you to close, Councillor Carra.
Closed.
Thank you. E-scribe to vote.
Councillor Demong, your vote, please. Mayor Gondek, all the votes are in.
Thank you. Could you display the results, please? That's carried unanimously. First reading of bylaw 54D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried. Second reading of bylaw 54D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried. Authorization for third reading of bylaw 54D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried unanimously. Third reading of bylaw 54D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that is carried. Ms. Stengel, let's go to 7.2.11.
Thank you, Mayor Gondek. Item 11 is a road closure and land use amendment to allow for consolidation with the neighboring parcels. Next slide, please. The recommendation before Council is to give 3 readings to proposed bylaw 5C 2025 for the closure of the road adjacent to 3004 and 3020 36th Street Southeast, and to proposed bylaw 58D 2025 to designate the closure area as the Special Purpose Community Service SCS District. Next slide, please. The subject site is located at the southeast community of Dover, east of Deerfoot Trail and the Western Irrigation District Canal, and south of 17th Avenue. It is adjacent to the Holy Cross Baseball Diamond and elementary and junior high schools. Next slide, please. The site is located between 36th Street and Doverdale Crescent, running east-west, roughly in line with 29A Avenue Southeast. It was originally intended to function as a rear lane for the adjacent parcels, but has not been used for this in the past. The area is currently grassed and part of the green space south of the baseball field. Next slide, please. Surrounding development is low-density residential homes with the school and green spaces shown in green and blue on the map, under a variety of special purpose districts. The closure area is currently undesignated and is considered part of the road right-of-way. The neighboring parcels of land are designated as the Special Purpose Community Service SCS District. Next slide, please. This image highlights the proposed closure area proposed through the road closure map. Next slide, please. The application is proposing the Special Purpose Community Service SCS District, which matches the designation on the neighboring parcels, which the closure area would be consolidated with. The SCS District is intended to accommodate education and community uses and is in alignment with the current activities on the site. Next slide, please. This application allows for consolidation of a road closure area and is in alignment with the East Calgary International Avenue Communities Local Area Plan. Calgary Planning Commission supports the application and recommends that Council give 3 readings to both the closure and designation bylaws. Thank you, Mayor Gondek.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Now, as I open the public hearing on this item, I have to open 2 public hearings. One is for the bylaw related to the road closure and the other is for the land use. So I'm going to open the public hearing for proposed bylaw 5C 2025. This is for the road closure. Do we have Ben Gilchrist?
Yes, good morning, Mayor Gondek and members of council. My name is Ben Gilchrist, and I'm here on behalf of the City of Calgary Real Estate and Development Services Business Unit, and I'm here as the applicant, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. You have a question from Councillor Chabot.
Yes, no, I lived in this area many, many years ago, and I can't recall this ever being used as an alley. Do you know?
That's correct. It's an undeveloped grassed area that's designated as a lane that has just generally been used adjacent to the field.
And this goes back to 1971, and I don't recall seeing anything even then.
That's correct.
Okay, thanks. No further questions.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions for you in the queue. Thanks very much for joining us. Do we have Gargar? How about Joshua Busutil? Hi, please come on up.
Hello, thanks for having me. My name is Joshua Busutil. I live in the area, so it's mostly a question. This project sounds like it'll benefit the children and families who live in the area and who attend the schools nearby. The community of Dover has more liquor stores than playgrounds and recreational facilities. So my question is, will this project benefit children and families in the area? And if so, will it be paired with traffic calming measures? We've had countless serious vehicle collisions right where this proposed development is. And to further the comments made earlier, a lot of people in the area use it as a undesignated dog park, to be honest, a lot of the residents in the area. So I thought that would be worth mentioning. And that's it. Thanks.
Thanks very much for your presentation. I don't see any questions for you, so thanks for taking the time to be here today. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to proposed bylaw 5C 2025, which is part of item 7.2.11? Okay, I'm not seeing or hearing anyone else, so I'll close the public hearing on that bylaw. I will now open the public hearing on proposed bylaw 58D 2025. This is the one that deals with the land use change. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to this? Here for questions?
Yes, my name is Ben Gilchrist, and I'm here for any questions related to the public hearing.
You have a question from Councillor Carra.
Sorry, I jumped the gun on the RTS. I don't have any questions about this. I'm prepared to, when you close the public hearing, speak.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Chabot has a question for you.
To your knowledge, is there any plans for any development on this site, or is it just intended to consolidate it with the rest of the parcels?
At this time, it's intended to be consolidated with the rest of the parcels.
But it could potentially develop into something that complies with the SCS district?
That's correct.
Okay, no further questions.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to bylaw 58D 2025? This is part of item 7.2.11. Mr. Busutil, do you wish to speak again, or you're good? Okay, perfect, thank you. And do we have Gargar? Anyone else on item 7.2.11? Okay, I'm not seeing or hearing anyone else, so I will close the public hearings on this item. I'll go to you, Councillor Carra. Is it a question of admin?
No, I'm ready to move it.
Okay. I don't see anybody else with questions, so go ahead.
So the first thing I'll do is I'll just address the question that Mr. Busutil asked. And you might recall at an earlier Ward 9 land use designation in this hearing, off 37th, I talked about the importance of 36th Street. North of 17th Avenue, 36th Street is a very narrow street, and it's choked with traffic, and it's got very narrow sidewalks, but it's an important northwest pedestrian connector. South of 26th, it expands into this giant sort of mini freeway that is overly fast and not particularly safe for a neighborhood street. What we're doing on this vacant piece of land is consolidating it into a parcel that we can have a conversation about what a best future is. And any development that takes place there will, of course, look at addressing that overly wide intersection address much better pedestrian connectivity north and south along that corridor, and hopefully do some heavy lifting in terms of community needs. So will it be good for the children of Dover? Yes, much better than what's happening right now, which is just a vacant lot. But the ultimate use is to be determined, and this allows us to sort of have a consolidated parcel in which we can have that kind of conversation. So thank you for being here, sir. Looking forward to working with you on that moving forward. But this is just this is papering over a piece of land to make it available for a good conversation. Happy to move it. Happy to move both bylaws on 3 readings.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Chabot. Thank you. I don't see anybody else in the queue. Over to you to close, Councillor Carra.
I'm closed.
Thank you. E-scribe to vote, please.
Councillor Demong, your vote, please. We'll mark Councillor Demong absent here.
Yes, I'm.
Oh, sorry.
I'm a yes. There's
Thank you.
something wrong with my computer.
Thank you, Councillor Demong. And Councillor Carra, your vote, please.
I'm a yes as well.
Thank you. Mayor Gondek, all the votes are in.
Thank you. Could you display the results, please? That's carried unanimously. First reading of bylaw 5C 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried. Second reading of bylaw 5C 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried. Authorization for third reading of bylaw 5C 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried unanimously. Third reading of bylaw 5C 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that is carried. First reading of bylaw 58D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried. Second reading of bylaw 58D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried. Authorization for third reading of bylaw 58D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that's carried unanimously. Third reading of bylaw 58D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that is carried. Ms. Stengel, let's go to 7.2.12.
Thank you, Mayor Gondek. Item 12 is a land use amendment to enable the temporary relocation of a shelter to allow for repairs at the current site. Next slide, please. The recommendation before Council is to give 3 readings to proposed bylaw 63D 2025 for the redesignation of 5495 61st Avenue Southeast from the Industrial General IG District to a Direct Control District based on the IG District to allow the additional use of temporary shelter. Next slide, please. The subject site is located in the southeast community of Starfield, north of 61st Avenue Southeast. Transit stops can be seen on this image both east and west of the location along 61st Avenue. The site is approximately 2 kilometers from the current shelter site, which will be undergoing repairs. Next slide, please. The site is currently developed with an industrial building with parking available along the western portion of the parcel. Next slide, please. Surrounding development is light industrial with some support commercial uses and is generally designated under the Industrial General IG District, including the subject site. The IG district is intended to accommodate a variety of industrial uses with limited number of support commercial uses. The maximum floor area ratio is 1.0, and there is no maximum height here. Temporary shelter is not a listed use in the district and is typically applied through direct control districts. Next slide, please. As such, this application is proposing a direct control DC district, which would be based on the current IG district, with the additional discretionary use of temporary shelter. The DC district also includes a rule limiting DP approvals for temporary shelters to a maximum of 5 years, which is typical and allows for flexibility. When the temporary shelter use is no longer needed, the stock IG district uses and rules would apply. This location in DC is in alignment with the Municipal Development Plan, Southeast Industrial Area Structure Plan, and related non-statutory policy, which outlines principles for the location of shelters
as they are encouraged throughout the city in buildings consistent with others in the area and in locations that can help support residents. Next slide, please. This application allows for the relocation of a temporary structure for repairs to be completed at the existing facility. It is in alignment with the MDP and the site selection criteria within the policy, as well as the ASP. Calgary Planning Commission supports the application and recommends that Council give 3 readings to the proposed bylaw. Thank you, Mayor Gondek.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Let's open the public hearing on this item. It is 7.2.12. Do we have James Gardner?
Thank you, Mayor Gondek. Nice to be able to speak with all of you today. I'm James Gardner. I'm the CEO of the Mustard Seed. And so, as was mentioned, our proposal in front of you today is to temporarily relocate what we call the Foothills shelter to what we're proposing to call the proposed Starfield shelter. And so the Foothills shelter, our existing location, is in a building that's owned by the City of Calgary. Our operations there are funded by the province of Alberta, and the rent that we pay to the City of Calgary is funded through an annual grant from the province. The roof needs to be replaced in that building, and so my understanding is that the city is actually paying for the replacement of the roof. The nature of the building, the clear span, we've been advised by your engineering department that we need to vacate the premises, and so we need to find a temporary home to house the shelter residents, and so we're here today proposing that use. And so a little bit on the Foothills shelter and what it is. It's funded for 350 beds. We have authority with the fire folks to go up to 400 beds in emergency situations. It's a sober shelter. That's a very important element of this application, that the Foothills shelter is a sober site. We screen for sobriety and drug use coming in. Our staff are well trained in how to do that. And if people coming into the site are deemed to have been using or under the influence of drugs, then we will redirect them to the other shelter sites that are designed to handle folks that are in intoxicated states. There's an established transportation system with the Help Van or the Hope Mission to move people around. And so this site, again, being a sober site, is populated by people that are primarily trying to get their lives back. We have extensive services on the site. As an example of the 370 beds on average, we had 360 people staying there last night. Last year, in 2024, we had 570 residents of the building that moved out into permanent housing, and 78% of those remained in permanent housing 6 months later. And so we estimate that approximately 40% of the residents in this Foothills shelter are actually working or working in temp jobs or looking for work. So why the Starfield site? We started this process in June. Our agent identified the Starfield site as a possible location in November of last year. There are a number of reasons why it's attractive to us. It's actually, in some regards, a perfect location for us. Based on the lease that we have in the two sites, our space is approximately the same size. It's a 14% increase, so very similar to the same size. The building has clear sight lines, which is needed for our operations, so the layout of the building is quite appropriate. It's on municipal bus services, and the bus access, there's walkways from the bus access into our site. A number of our folks access by way of bus. And we have a landlord in the site. It's a commercial landlord that, when we started this process, didn't know whether they were going to need it, and so they had a window of opportunity for about 18 months that they were looking for a tenant for 18 months. It's actually very difficult to rent an industrial property for a short lease like this. And so, in some regards, the stars all kind of aligned for us that this site became available, and so we have it under contract as of now. In terms of what we've done with community engagement, and so we put a sign up on the property as directed by the planning department on January the 9th. On January the 27th, our community engagement team knocked on the doors of all of the businesses in a 300-meter radius and actually dropped off a flyer with a contact linked as to what we were proposing to do. And we spoke to 22 of those 40 businesses. And so there's been a sincere effort on the part of the Mustard Seed to be transparent in what we're doing and to engage community feedback. We did not have any community feedback as a result of that exercise. If you approve this application, our intention is to lift and shift our operations over, including our protocols that we have, our operational protocols. And it's important to note that the Mustard Seed is committed to being a good neighbor to all of our neighbors. We understand that our operations are sometimes attached to stereotypes, which, being a sober shelter, we fall outside of those stereotypes. But we are committed to being transparent with our neighbors, providing contact information. We actually have a policy, we call it enhanced visible patrol, where every day, each shift, 3 times a day, our staff do a walk around in the neighborhood in a 300-meter radius. At night, they do it by way of car, and they're engaging with people that may or may not be in the neighborhood and making sure that they, if they're setting up encampments, we'll make sure that they tear them down. And so, and actually our staff even pick up garbage when that happens. And so we have a 17-year track record.
Thank you very much for your presentation,
that we're looking to shift over.
I'm sorry, you're just at
Thanks
time.
very
You
much.
do have several people wanting to ask you questions, though. Let's start with Councillor Sharp.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here today, and thank you for the service you provide for those that do need it. It's really important. So I have a very technical question for you. I'm going to ask administration this question as well. Sure. I know that you did a lot of outreach to the neighbors and businesses around this area, and everyone's supportive of the what you call lift and shift and the temporary use. Would the Mustard Seed be against anything shorter, like up to 3 years or up to 2 years, not necessarily a 5-year? How do you feel about that?
So we are open to that. The lease that we have runs till, it depends on when we actually take possession, but approximately December 2026. We would conservatively need 2 years to do the renovations on site, to move people over, to replace the roof and move people back, but we could make this work in a 2-year window.
Okay, that's all I needed to know from you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Let's go to Councillor Chabot.
Councillor Sharp beat me to one of my questions. Through your engagement with some of the adjacent residents, did you get any, hear any opposition yourself directly? I know the report says there wasn't, but did you receive any feedback from any of the adjacent neighbors?
No. During that process that we initiated, there was a contact link, and nobody reached out on the contact link. Through the announcement for this meeting, there's one neighbor that's reached out to us, and we've had extensive discussions as a result of that engagement. But in terms of our efforts on January the 27th, nobody reached out to us.
Okay. Is there, I'm not as familiar as I guess I could be about the Mustard Seed, insofar as ensuring safety and security for the surrounding area. You did talk about, the patrolling of the outside area. Are you guys typically utilize cameras as well?
We do have, our building is fully cameraed in site for security reasons. Outside, yes, as well, but not off the property, obviously. In terms of the neighborhood, so we are in as needed discussions with CPS, and so we have a relationship with them, and we monitor heat mapping of safety and security incidents in the neighborhood. And so I can tell you, we are not aware of an incident of theft by one of our residents, frankly, ever in the neighborhood. And so the amount of crime based on the stats that CPS tells us is really quite nominal.
Okay.
So I hope that answers your question.
I'm good for now. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Councillor Carra.
Yeah, largely asked and answered by Councillor Chabot and Councillor Sharp. We obviously have one neighbor who is a little bit freaked out about the shelter. I assume, my question is, if council grants this land use today, are you willing to sit down and further negotiate sort of an operational plan to make sure that this neighbor's operations and your operations are kept as maximally apart as possible?
Yes.
Okay. That's all my questions for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Councillor McLean.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Gardner, for your presentation and a lot of good work that the Mustard Seed does. My questions are mostly answered as well. The 2-year component, I think, which is important. The other one was engaging with, the neighbors. But I guess my question, more just for curiosity's sake, what's your experience? Has this been done before, like where you can actually lift up and move several hundred people over a huge distance to another facility that's not set up? Has it been done before? What's the experience with, if it has been done before?
It's not been done before in my experience. I've been involved. I've been the CEO for a year and on staff a year before that, and I was on our board for 3 years before that. It's not been done, to my recollection, during that time frame. If it would have been done maybe by another operation or maybe by us in the past, it would have been done at a smaller scale than this. 370 beds is our largest shelter, and so in that regard, this is new.
Yeah, I was curious as well. So I think Councillor Craw was right. Some engagement and further working with everybody in the area is going to be very crucial to making this successful. I really appreciate the fact that you mentioned that it is a sober facility and that there is not maybe a lot of crime, because what happens when you do turn people away then that aren't sober or still using, and you monitor this little certain area that's close by you, but what's your experience with what happens to these people that maybe go a little further deeper into the neighborhoods?
So when we don't turn people away, we redirect them to other shelter sites. So the City of Calgary has sufficient shelter beds to meet the demand for shelter, and there are shelters that are designed to handle people that are either intoxicated. And Alpha House is an example. You must be intoxicated to get in there.
Yeah.
And so there is an established system to move people around. We don't turn them out. We will keep them on site. We will contact one of the two, the Hope Mission van or the Help van, and relocate them around. And so to make sure that they have, obviously if they're intoxicated, they're going to need transportation over. If someone chooses to, we're not a prison, and so we can't force people against their will. If someone chooses to go into community and we deem there's a danger, we will call CPS and make sure that CPS is aware that that situation has occurred.
Excellent. That's very reassuring. So do you think you might need some additional security or other services because it's a completely new area that maybe isn't used to having this type of facility? Is there extra resources that would be needed or maybe need to be supplied, or what?
We don't think so. We're not proposing added staffing and resources. The current staffing structure that we have, again, we have a 17-year track record here with really nominal impact on the community, and so because we're proposing to lift and shift the operations, we're not planning to add extra staffing or security. It's not deemed to be needed, but if it is, then we will. We are committed to being a good neighbor, and in answer to Councillor Craw's previous question, one of our values is transparent accountability. We take that very seriously, and we will be working in constant communication with the neighbors. If that's deemed to be necessary, then we'll hire more staff. How we fund that, I don't know, but that's a value that that we'll honor.
Yeah, I really appreciate that in your cooperation. And I guess, just to reiterate, 2 years should be plenty of time to fix that roof.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah. Excellent. Thanks again for that's all.
Thank you very much. You have a question from Councillor Wong.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for being here. Thank you for the service of the Mustard Seed. My colleagues have asked a lot of questions already, and I think you've answered them very well. The only question I have is with regards to your site, the external portion of your site, and the adjacent property. Has there been a joint SEPTED evaluation done to ensure that security of the area is optimized?
There's not been a SEPTED evaluation done that I'm aware of, no.
And would you be willing to do one with adjacent partners?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other question made reference to of having residents who may be intoxicated or addicted. What's the turnaround time from the time you identify that to being able to transport them away? Is there a wait time? And if there's a wait time, are they kept within the building or outside the building?
The wait time can vary from, half an hour to potentially hours if it's at a busy time. And they are kept, not against their will. They're offered to stay inside during that time. So we don't restrict them unless there's an issue of danger, in which case CPS is being called. Happens quite rarely, but they are encouraged to stay in sight. Our goal is to help people. The Mustard Seed and helping them is getting them into a proper shelter that's staffed and suitable for their needs. And so as part of our mandate, we want to connect them with the Help Van or the Hope Mission Van and redirect them.
Yeah. No, I think you guys, clearly responsible about that. It's just that finding that right gap, and then as Councillor Carl referred to, an operational program between yourself and your adjacent properties, I think is critical to ensure that any threats or concerns are evaluated ahead of time and dealt with at the time. So I'm sure they'll be asking for the same. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions in the queue for you. Thanks for making the time to be here today.
Thank you.
And I'm not sure if it's Bonnie or Barry Anderson. Is it Bonnie? Yeah, please come on up. So, Karen Finley, you're registered as well. Is Bonnie speaking or no?
So we are requesting that we can do a joint presentation together.
We don't do that, but you can go one after the other.
Certainly, I can do that. Perhaps then I can start.
Okay, so Karen Finley is starting things off. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, members of council. My name is Karen Finley. I'm here to speak in opposition to proposed bylaw LOC 2024-0323. I did submit a presentation as well. I know it was rather last minute, but if that's able to be used, it would be appreciated just for some visuals. I'm here on behalf of ATS Healthcare, the landlords and tenants of a property across the street, and all are located. There's 3 of them located across the street from the applicant's site. I am here with Bonnie Anderson, and she will now follow my presentation. Leadership at ATS Healthcare became aware of the proposed land use change on March 27th. Since then, we have moved quickly and in good faith to engage in this process. We met with the Mustard Seed several times and are appreciative for that, reached out to city file managers and messaged and spoke with city councillors to understand the proposal and explore potential solutions. We are supportive of Mustard Seed's mission, and we do understand their opportunity to temporarily relocate in this location. We do not oppose this temporary move. However, we are here today to share our concerns and to advocate for lives that also depend on ATS Healthcare's ability to operate without disruption and ensure that a temporary shelter opportunity is delivered as promised. We ask Council to consider making amendments to the proposed direct control in order to allow proper safeguards that protect all the lives affected by both ATS Healthcare and the Mustard Seed. So who are we? ATS Healthcare is Canada's largest healthcare dedicated logistics provider and a critical link in Canada's healthcare supply chain. Every day, we handle time-sensitive, temperature-controlled delivery of life-saving medical products, serving a long list of recipients across the country and the province, including hospitals, clinics, veterinarians, pharmacies, long-term care facilities, EMS, Canadian Blood Services, specialized treatment centres, research and biotech labs, public health agencies, diagnostic imaging centres, private and mobile health clinics, home healthcare providers, and medical device manufacturers and distributors. Each of these groups depends on ATS Healthcare's reliable logistics for products that save lives, improve health outcomes, and ensure continuity of care. ATS Healthcare operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We don't usually need to appear before council. That we are here now speaks to the gravity of the situation and why this matters. We fully understand and respect the urgency the Mustard Seed faces in relocating to allow critical repairs to their existing facility. Their mission matters, and we support efforts to ensure they can continue their work safely. But the proposal before council today risks potentially creating a new and serious crisis, this time for patients whose lives depend on us. ATS Healthcare is located immediately across 61st Ave from the proposed land use change to accommodate temporary shelter. Our building is a vital hub for the healthcare, other affiliated logistics, and warehousing. From this site, we manage transportation, warehousing, fulfillment, and last-mile delivery of time-sensitive healthcare products across Calgary and Western Canada. The work here is not abstract, and that's what we would like to raise your awareness of. It directly affects lives. People with diabetes, those awaiting heart valves, patients in emergency rooms, individuals undergoing cancer care, and also our dogs and cats. Every day, thousands of patients rely on this, and it usually goes by quietly under the radar, and nobody knows about it. But it is a critical link in our healthcare. This isn't about choosing one need over another. It's about recognizing that both matter, and we're asking that you ensure that we don't unintentionally harm one while trying to support the other. The reason why we remain concerned is it has been rushed, and we just don't yet know the full impacts. And so the rezoning application has not provided full consideration of the compatibility of uses, and Bonnie will be presenting some suggested amendments that we would ask you to consider. Please feel free to go through, I see that this is up, please feel free to go through these for visuals as we go in my last 30 seconds here that council can see what we have presented. The guardrails that we are asking for, in short, are on the next slide, if you don't mind. That the DC designation focuses on temporary use. Sorry, if you can go to the next slide. That it reverts back to IGs, and that council considers very carefully what happens next on the site. ATS Healthcare is willing to work with a temporary relocation, but they would like to know how this affects their operations, which is dire and concerning to them. We are here as collaborators.
Ms. Finley, thank you very much. Your time is just up.
Okay,
You do
thank
have
you.
a question, though. Councillor Wong has a question for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Finley. I do have a question, but did you want to finish that last little bit you were going?
Yes, thank you. If I can ask you to go to the next slide. The request that we want to ask for, just very high level, is about maximum persons, operational parameters, one DP issued once, and a maximum 2-year time frame. These were all addressed by the applicant as well, and we have had discussions on these matters, including agreement on the 2-year time frame. Given that all that has been proposed through this and our quick working through it, we've come to understand that they can work within that, and we can work with that as well.
Okay, thank you. If you can go back about 2 slides or 3 slides. Keep going. One more. This one. In here, you've highlighted a variety of different conditions associated with your operations. Are any of those bullet items there in jeopardy given this application and potential threats to you?
Our difficulty is that we don't know the extent to which we will need to review every one of these items. ATS Healthcare will, and these are parameters typically put upon them. And so we raise the level of awareness on this to better understand what happens in their operations and logistics and the things that they will have to follow up and look into. And there simply hasn't been time to review the effects of this or to, again, without knowing the full operations of Mustard Seed, to be able to present anything to any of these groups that they could consider technically.
Okay. If there are any sort of disruptions to ATS operations, what's the duration that you can accept of an interruption?
I am a representative for ATS Healthcare, and I do not have an answer for you on that.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. I'll ask the next one. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions for you, so thanks for taking the time to be here today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to go to Bonnie Anderson now.
Thank you. Apologies for the coordination efforts here. Good morning, members of council. My name is Bonnie Anderson. I have a planning and architecture background, so I don't just come to this as a legal representative. I often wear two hats and look at projects in two ways, often, first of all, from a planning perspective. My clients approached me to first look at this site and again, looked at it through a planning perspective. What the process has been to date, I've been intimately involved with this project since Friday, so we've had just over a week. And leadership at ATS reached out to us, and we were on it by the afternoon of Friday, but as you can well imagine, we hit a weekend and then had a week now to prepare for this. We had 1 business day's notice to put together our initial submission to council. So just to give you that lens, over the weekend when we initially had this and throughout this week, I looked at all public information I could find on this project from either land titles, city of online materials, etc. And some of our initial concerns were laid out in the initial letter that is part of your package. My immediate goal at the time when we were initially retained was to learn as much about the proposed rezoning as possible from the information available on the public websites. Learn as much as possible, again, about our clients' operations, which Karen Finley talked about. My goal at the time, again, last weekend, was to put together at least something that we could present to council on the deadline of April 1st to make it into the agenda. And then we took the opportunity the following week, once we had our ducks in order, to get in touch with some councillors and to also approach the Mustard Seed. The delay in approaching them at all was not based on not wanting to talk to them. We just needed to get some of our facts and details straightened out. I can tell you, as Karen reiterated, that ATS Healthcare did not take this matter on lightly. They were not freaked out about it as suggested, but I felt that they had some legitimate concerns. I do not normally take on files that oppose a shelter. That's, for any number of reasons, a very difficult prospect, but I felt that our client, ATS Healthcare, did have concerns about being juxtaposed or immediately adjacent to this site. I can tell you that I also have volunteered at the Mustard Seed and understand the good work that they do. I also have an Indigenous background, so I do understand that they help a lot of people in those areas as well. Thus, I did not need to know that Mustard Seed did good work, but we did meet with them to figure out what of their operations they were looking to relocate and what exactly they were looking to do. I can tell you from my first review of the the rezoning package, my concern was the extent and no limited regulations on the shelter use at this site. In fact, even less regulations than the direct control at the current site. So I was trying to figure out, are you proposing 370 persons to be accommodated here for just 2 years for just a temporary relocation? That was not evidenced in the DC. That is not evidenced in the rezoning. So that is why we come to you today presenting some alternatives to the direct control bylaw, which we do believe captures the story that the Mustard Seed has for the relocation and emphasizing that this is a temporary relocation, not just a temporary shelter, but a temporary relocation. And so I looked at the prior DC, the current DC. Sorry, time. Do I know where my time is? How much?
You have just under a minute.
Perfect. Okay, so I'd like to get to the last slide. And what I want to emphasize is the details we have from the Mustard Seed is that they need 9 to 12 months for repairs at their current facility. They need about 7 months to renovate the space at this new location. They need a temporary permit for 2 years. And given the sensitivities, I think it's reasonable for this DC bylaw to come back to council in 2 years after the DP expires, should they wish to move it forward past that time. I can tell you we're looking for 4 changes and to be inserted in the DC. There's not a lot. One is maximum capacity or maximum occupants to mimic what they currently have now. 2 is operational parameters. Both of those, max occupancy and parameters, come from current DC.
Ms. Anderson, I gave you an extra 10 seconds because you had to ask a question about your time. There's actually a timer right in front of you there.
Perfect, sorry, I don't.
That's okay, don't worry. So your time is up. I'm just looking to see if there's any questions for you in the queue. There is one from Councillor Wong.
Thank you, Mayor. I know you just ran out of time. Did you want to finish that item?
Yeah, it'll be quite short, sorry. So 1 was the maximum occupancy, which is shown on the slide. 2 is adding operational parameters. Both occupancy and operational parameters are within the current DC, and the 370 is a number that the mustard seed has provided. 3 would be 1 development permit issued up to a max of 2 years.
Thank you.
And 4, sorry, that was the 4th item. So you can see that that's included in the purpose statement because I think it is very clear. And then in item number 7, where we add some of the parameters. Again, not all of this is new, but we believe it properly mimics what we're hearing that the mustard seed needs at this time. And without any further investigation, we feel that it needs to be captured in the DC. And I will just point out one other thing. The tendency with this might be to postpone it to the development permit stage. In my experience with development, with direct control bylaws that are quite specific like this, it is very difficult for us to start having input at the DP stage for all but maybe a SEPTED report and stuff like that. So the parameters we're looking, the bookends that we're looking to put into this DC, we think are reasonable for what facts we're dealing with, and that we would appreciate a conversation about these amendments at the appropriate time.
Thank you. My question on this one, I did have another question, but a question on this one. The amendments here, have they been discussed specifically with mustard seed, and do you know if they support this?
A number of the amendments have, and they had generally supported the amendments, but we couldn't come to oh, maybe you have an update.
Well, if I may, Karen Finlay again. I had a conversation as recently as this morning. Councillor Wong, through the chair, may I ask if you repeat the question? Sorry.
Question is, the amendments as proposed, have they been reviewed with the mustard seed, and are they in agreement?
We have been able to review them verbally with the mustard seed, and we have agreement on a 2-year time frame. They understand our concerns about occupancy, and my understanding was operational parameters were also in agreement. We don't have anything in writing on that. And I am going to raise an item in good faith that the current bylaw allows for a combination of temporary and emergency shelter, which has a different limit on it. But everything that had been proposed, which is why this is written the way that it is, had proposed that the need was for 370 persons. And so there may need to be an adjustment on the number of persons with council's consideration of what would be appropriate given that discrepancy. We were trying not to amend the bylaw such that it wouldn't be possible to make these changes. So we're sensitive to that, and I do want to bring it to your attention that there is a combined number in the existing bylaw. Our provision here is for 370 because it was what was proposed. And I think Bonnie has more details on that, should you have more technical questions on that.
Thank you, Bonnie Anderson, for the record. We kept it at 370, and the temporary shelter was all that was proposed. And we think it proper to keep it at that limit because we're not interested in having to have another public hearing, having to republish this additional use, if there is an additional use. This is their application. So while we are sympathetic for sure, and we are, amenable to possible changes, I do worry that adding an additional use will flip it to another public hearing because there is a sufficient enough change. Thank you.
So the question I was going to ask Ms. Finley, but I'm going to ask you now, and that is, if there were disruptions in ATS's operations, that what's the permitted? Well, not permitted is not the right word. What would be an allowable disruption period? Is it like 1 day, 1 week before your operations are jeopardized?
Sure, it's Bonnie Anderson for the record. What I can get is, we'll have a quick conversation. Karen, if you can go ask them. I do have a couple items surrounding that question, which would be a couple items I think are important here. We have 48 bays of trucks coming to and from our site. And with those 48 bays, it's a right-in, right-out only. And then we have potentially a number of pedestrian traffic added to this area. And so there's no transportation analysis that's been done. And we're concerned that that gets popped over to the DP stage and very little input at that stage. So Karen Finley will confirm sort of the timing and impact, but we are significantly concerned about the intersection, not just of the folks at the shelter, of pedestrians in general at this site, and the number of trucks that leave to and fro our site at key peak times, and the number of folks that are coming in and out of the shelter at similar key peak times.
So I'm going to step in for a minute here. I've given a lot of latitude in the questions. There's been a lot of questions about the operations of the applicant. There's now operational questions for these presenters, and we are well into development permit considerations. Like, so far into DP considerations that I'm just going to caution council, ask your questions limited to land use, please.
Will do, thank you. I'm not sure if you want to answer, Ms. Finley, before I go further.
So that was an operating question that you asked, Councillor.
Okay, fair enough, we'll leave that there.
Thank you.
Okay. The hard part of the equation in terms of asking a lot of questions that are land use related as opposed to use and development permit related is the sensitivity of the ATS operations, which I don't want to get into here because I don't want to dive into deeper any more than you can. But I guess from a land use perspective, as it relates to this site and your adjacent site, what is the consequence of risk, I guess is what I'm trying to get to.
So the list that was provided was intended to just show some of the risk that ATS must consider. The risk is also time sensitive, so their delivery operationally, again, is time sensitive, and it is temperature controlled. It is for healthcare, so there are a lot of risks and there are a lot of logistics that must be considered. I will point to the amendment request that is that there be a limited time frame on this and the attention of council for further changes, just so that it can come, so that we have the opportunity, ATS Healthcare has the opportunity to look at what the risks are over a time frame while accommodating the mustard seed and their necessary relocation, but also that the operational addition is in the DC. So that was one of the amendments proposed here, is that there be an operational component that's required as we go forward in the process with DP. And that would give, I think, both ATS Healthcare and the mustard seed a fantastic opportunity to talk about the operational details and ensure that both remain operating at full capacity. And best case is that everybody finds solutions and both continue to provide life-saving care.
Okay. Thank you to both of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Craw.
Yeah, I think the questions I wanted to ask were asked and answered. I'm aware that the neighbor is concerned and is proposing a number of amendments. Those have been put on the floor. I think the next step is to ask administration their impression of these and why more writing was not included in this DC when it exists in the DC that currently governs the permanent shelter space. So look forward to asking that question.
Okay, let's go to Councillor Chu.
Thank you, Worship. My question is more specific. I think it's for Ms. Anderson. just because you're a lawyer.
Yeah,
So-
my apologies.
Yeah, no worry. So, I'm sure you went through this item with detail. And in there, it stated that in the future, it might renew for another 5 years term. Initially, it was 5 years, and then could be renewed for another 5 years. However, in your proposal, it didn't mention that. So I'm assuming 3B means that it's just 2 years maximum, nothing. Am I
Sure.
correct?
2A and 2B combined mean that there would be a non-renewal after the end of the term of this particular use, which matches with the time frame that they've indicated they need this facility. The prior wording was not exceeding 5 years, which if we use the current site, has been repeatedly renewed for close to 20 years. So that is what we didn't want to occur here, given the relocation objective for a temporary time.
Great, thank you. And during all the presentation, it was stated that the ATS is supporting Mustard Seed, the mission anyway, not necessarily this one. So my point is that if, based on the safety concern and many other traffic and everything else, would that be a concern for ATS if there's some sort of big hotel or a lot of people, like, for example, condo there? Would that be a concern?
Councillor Chu, I'm not sure that the question you're asking is related to the thing that's before us. I think you're getting into hypotheticals. So I'm just going to caution you about sticking to what's before us.
It is. I believe I'm talking about the safety, including traffic safety. And I believe it's within the boundary, if that's the case.
Did you just ask about a hotel?
I say if that was something big hotel with lots of people.
It's not before us. That's a hypothetical. No one has applied for a hotel here. So that's why I'm asking you to stick to what's before us, please.
Okay, thank you. And so if, I guess I can't ask because hypothetical, so that'll be the end of my questioning. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Councillor Chabot.
Yes, thank you for being here and for your presentation. Most of my questions were asked and answered. The one question I have in regards to, from a context perspective, the site that you're referring to is where relative to this site?
The current location?
The people you're representing, ATS?
Oh, it's immediately across 61st Avenue, so it would be considered immediately across, and it would be considered an adjacent site. Plus, some of our roadways, access points coming out for both sites are right across the street from each other.
Across the street.
Yes. We can go back a couple slides if there's an aerial photograph. Go back, please. Further back. There. We are immediately across the street, and you can see how close our access points are and the bays. There's 48 of them on the left side.
Thanks. I glossed over that slide, so thanks for bringing it back. No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions for you in the queue, so thank you both for taking the time to present to us today. Council, I'm going to give you a little bit of latitude on something before I close the public hearing. There was a lot of questions of the last two presenters regarding how Mustard Seed feels about these changes. If any of you are interested in asking the Mustard Seed directly, now would be the time to do it because the public hearing is still open. If you decide that you want to ask that later, I'm going to have to open the public hearing again. So if there's anyone interested, let's do that. Mr. Gardner, if you wouldn't mind coming back up. Councillor Wong has a question for you.
Thank you, Mayor, for the latitude. Mr. Gardner, thank you again for coming back up. A series of amendments were put forward by people speaking against this, and I'm not sure if you had a chance to review the specifics of the amendment. What's your thoughts about that?
Yeah, so first off, I just want to commend ATS. And so we've had 6 meetings with them since last Thursday. And so in terms of community engagement and welcoming and having open and transparent conversations, we're very thankful that they approached us. And we wish all neighbors that had concerns with us were that. And so I think we've come a long way in understanding each other's operations. In terms of the 2 years, we are in agreement with that amendment. In terms of the transparency, in terms of our operating procedures, in the same manner that we would do that today, we are in agreement with that. In terms of the 370 beds, we're not in agreement with that, but we are in agreement to limiting the scope of our operations. We just want to make sure it works. And so today, as I mentioned, we're funded for 350. We operate at 370, and we'll go up to 400 if it's a certain cold or whatnot. That does not include staff. And so the wording that was framed here was occupants. So we still need staff on top of that. In addition, we are in discussions and have been for some time with Minister LaGrange and Minister Nixon around the need that the City of Calgary has for medical respite beds. There is not a space in the city to do that. And so today, it's an identified need for the City of Calgary that people are in hospital emergency rooms and they can't be released into community because they're homeless. And so if it was our relatives here, we might take them into our home and care for them. But for people that are unhoused, that's not a resource. And so we are in active discussions and have been for a number of months about adding maybe 30 or potentially 50 beds of medical respite beds on top of that. And so in my discussions with ATS, they are aware of this. We would like the latitude to go up to, if we had 400 people today, and if we were approved, which is a big if the funding happens, that might be maybe as many as 50 beds plus staff. And that would be the scope that we're funded for. Frankly, that's the scope what the need of the City of Calgary is. There isn't a need for greater beds than that, and we would be agreeable to limiting our activity to that scope. So potentially 450, 460 residents, plus the associated staff, volunteers, and the people that actually run the operation.
Thank you. You made reference to the previous discussion that I'll say the 370, for example, of the residents who are there are free to come and go accordingly. Of the 50 respite beds, patient respite, ideally they're there to convalesce and recover accordingly. Are they in and out quite a bit, or are they stationary?
So it doesn't exist today. This would be incremental to the property if the funding was approved. It's a big if. We do run this operation for 30 beds up in Edmonton, and there is relatively limited mobility of the folks that are in there because they're in medical respite.
Okay.
They would be staying on site, and then there would be supports on site to get them back to health.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Let's go to Councillor Carra.
Since you're up here, I guess I'll ask one more question, and that is, how embedded are you looking to become in this temporary site? Like, are you fixing to get back to the city-owned facility as soon as humanly possible, or is this something that could sort of transition into more of a full-time thing for the Mustard Seed?
So our application is for a temporary site. It is our intention to go back to the Foothills location. The City of Calgary, that Foothills site there's a long-standing partnership there that we're working very closely with the City of Calgary on that. As I understand it, it's a dedicated site for the purpose of the Mustard Seed, and so that is our intention. Like, to be honest with you, I've been doing this. We operate in 28 locations in 3 provinces. Never say never at the Mustard Seed, but we're not sitting on $13 or $14 million to make this a permanent location. That would be a nice problem for us to have. We don't have that problem today, and so our intention is to go back to the Foothills location. In which case, we're happy to agree to the 2 years. We have a roof that leaks. We need to replace it. We need to put people somewhere, and then our intention is to go back once the roof is repaired.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's go to Councillor Thaliwal.
Thank you, Mayor. My question, thank you for your presentation. I'm a little confused. Those three recommendations that were put forward by ATS, you're saying you're in agreement or no?
We're in agreement with the 2 years. We're in agreement with our operational transparency. We are in agreement with limiting the scope of our activity there, but at a greater amount of people on site to 460 plus staff and volunteers. The proposal that was given was 370 occupants. That actually would be cutting back the amount of activity because we have to have staff on site, and so it's not an accurate representation of what our intention are.
Okay, so number one is you have an objection to it. If it's more like 460, you want to see a higher number to have that little buffer.
Correct, plus staff and volunteers. Yes, we would be in agreement with that.
But 2 and 3, you're accepting that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's it for me, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Chabot.
Yes, thank you, and thanks for answering that question around residents. I guess my question, it begs the question, if you go to that number, will you be able to accommodate that same number when you go back to your old site?
No, we won't. We would have to find, we would either have to cancel the medical respite program or we would have to find a new location.
So why would you want to introduce something that you won't be able to carry forward?
Well, we would have a year and a half to find a new location and we would start working on that.
Okay, but you're okay with the 2 years?
Yes, I'm okay with the 2 years.
Okay, thanks. No further questions.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions for you in the queue, so thanks very much for coming back up again. Council, before I close the public hearing, I just need your general consent that we can finish this item before we break for lunch. Is anyone opposed to that? Okay, great. Mr. Clerk, do you need us to do anything else on that?
No, that's fine. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to this item, 7.2.12? Okay, I'm not seeing or hearing anyone else, so I'll close the public hearing on this item. I think the RTSs that were in there were questions for administration. Councillor Carra.
Yeah, I just will note, this is a pretty bare bones DC. We have just had a long conversation about adding a couple of belts and braces to that. I guess my question to administration is, what was your thinking around not including some of the policies in this DC that exist in the DC that governs the permanent site for the mustard seed?
So we certainly did consider these items when we were reviewing the DC. We were able to look at this DC and use our experiences over the years and the lessons learned with the existing DC when we were evaluating this one. So for example, with the maximum number of persons or the occupancy, we did have a cap in the existing DC. However, we have run into discrepancies between the occupancy number in the land use and with building codes and with fire codes, and operational things can change as well. So we found that having the occupancy numbers in the DC did not provide the number of flexibility that we would need. Same with the operational parameters. We do look at operational parameters. It is something that is reviewed heavily through the development permit, which is why we do have it as a discretionary use within this DC. We also do review it based off of the planning principles for the location of special care facilities and shelters. So that is a non-statutory policy that does support this as well. And similar with the 2-year time frame, or the difference in the time frame, we do include a time frame within our direct control district because it is intended to be a temporary use. But we know that construction details can be quite uncertain. We typically do a 5-year within our direct control districts just to provide additional flexibility. So this DC is different than their existing DC, but we were able to use lessons learned.
That was an excellent answer. I will ask one more question, and that is, there are, in this world, incompatible uses that should not be positioned next to each other. And so when this sort of popped onto my radar screen, my question was, are these incompatible uses? I've arrived at what I think is my conclusion, but I would like to put that question to you. Are these uses that are are going to have a hard time coexisting next to each other, as is the fear of the neighbor.
We do feel that the temporary shelter use is appropriate within the IG district, which is the same district of the surrounding neighbors. We feel that it can fit within this context, and the operational parameters and the details would be further reviewed through the development permit.
That's a good answer as well. I'm willing to move this at the appropriate time. Mayor Gondek.
Thank you. Let's go to Councillor Sharp.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, administration, and thanks for all the speakers for being here today. I have some questions, and correct me if I'm wrong. Council can change today we can add maybe some belts and braces around the temporary timeline. So if I wanted to bring an amendment on the 5-year to make it 2-year, that would be appropriate.
That is something that council can bring forward should they wish.
Okay, now my other question though is the amount of individuals that are in like the facility itself and the amount of persons in the building. Is that governed by us or the province?
So there's many different things that do govern the number of people within a building, building codes, safety codes, fire regulations. Their licensing through the province may also impact that as well. It's not typically something that we would regulate through the land use because it can come in conflict with those other regulations.
So I'm going to ask legal then to weigh in as well. So would it be appropriate for us to, because I know there was 2 sets of amendments that we saw up from those that spoke. Is it appropriate for council to bring something on the side of the amount of people that are there? Yes or no?
Are you asking me whether it's appropriate for council to introduce an amendment
for the
to cap?
To cap, yeah, because I mean, so I'm going to use childcare as an example, governed by the province. You know, administration works on the development permit side. Is that something that maybe the administration can work on after this passes on if there needs to be in a different, cap? I've never seen us actually cap the amount of people in a use. So that's why I'm wondering if it's appropriate for us to be able to do that.
I would say that it is possible for council to do that, but for the very reasons that Ms. Stengel laid out, I wouldn't recommend doing it.
Okay. So when appropriate, I did speak to the area councillor. I do have an amendment on just the term, so the temporary shelter, 2 years. We'll look at clerks when it's actually appropriate to be moving that. I do believe it has to be moved before a second reading, but administration has said it's okay. So Mayor, when it's appropriate, I'd like to put the amendment on the floor to go from 5 to 2 years. It sounds like the applicant is in cooperation with that, and sometimes we have to make a compromise to make things work for everybody.
I'm absolutely able to come to you after we do first reading, so I will do that. Have you submitted?
Clerks has it and administration reviewed it. Everyone seems to be good with it. I'll send it to the rest of committee or council right now. Really what it is it's just changing the 5-year to 2-year, and if Councillor Carra wants to move it, I will let you do it, but I just have it written, so it's up to you, Councillor Carra.
Okay, so there is a question from Ms. Goldstein.
We just want to have a clarification that the 2 years begins when they actually move in. There is another process, the development permit process is coming after this. We're just being cognizant of construction timelines, which 24 months is tight to do a big project like they're proposing, and I just don't want to have to come back here and say, can we have 1 month more at the end? So as long as we're very clear that this is 24 months when they actually get in the building, administration doesn't have any questions or additional concerns on that.
Perfect. I think clerks is cleaning that up for me so that it's going to be from when they actually get in the building, if that's okay with you, GM.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Sharp. Let's go to Councillor Walcott.
Thank you. It primarily doesn't seem like we're going to go down some of the routes that I thought we did because we went further in depth into operations. And so when we're talking about kind of like compatibility, the one thing that I just wanted to ask about is in a traditional IG site in a warehouse, just like in a warehouse like this, you have an expectation of employees and trucks and things that are going to be coming in and out of a site like this anyway. And so just for comparison, when we're talking about what is like a compatible use, I just wanted to be clear, like the flexibility of the IG site is pretty deep, and about the types of things that can operate out of this site. Was there any real concern about it just being people versus an industrial site? Because from my interpretation, it's like they're going to have this, you could have the same amount of people in this site as just employees.
That is correct. The IG district is quite flexible and does include a wide variety of uses that may be 24-hour uses and may include hundreds of employees and users on the site as well, similar to the surrounding parcels that are nearby. So we did feel that this was an appropriate number of people and use for this site.
I'm going to hold my second question for after the amendment, actually, just because it's on the timeline. And I wanted to see if it talks about that renewability option, just given tariffs, supply chain, et cetera. I have some questions there, but I'll wait till the amendment's tabled and I'll come back.
Thank you. I don't see, oh, yes, I do. Councillor Thalibwal.
Thank you, Mayor. Some of my questions are already answered. I just want to get a clarification. Is amendment even needed? Because in the DC, it says DP cannot exceed 5 years. So if applicant is okay with 2 years, you guys can just negotiate without amendment to the terms that are acceptable to the applicant.
That is correct. Through the development permit, we do have the flexibility to have a development permit that is shorter than 5 years, but 5 years would be the maximum based off of the proposed DC in front of us.
Yeah, because it says must not be issued. It doesn't say that it's going to be issued for 5 years.
Correct. That would be the maximum.
Okay, I think there's a flexibility that the applicant can work with admin to get it done for whatever time they need it for 2 years, 3 years. That's it for me, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's go to the mover now, please. Councillor Craw.
All right, a couple points of debate. The first one is I was not sure whether a shelter sequestered far away from everything in an industrial zone made any sense at all. When I was first elected in 2010, it had just opened. I have visited it many, many, many times over the last 15 years, and they just do incredible work there, and it makes a ton of sense. And I have come to deeply appreciate the service that the mustard seed in general and this shelter specifically provides for Calgarians. I am, though, aware that the industrial southeast is the economic engine, one of the major economic engines of our city, and I watch like a hawk, making sure that uses are compatible. I've had some very interesting incompatible uses over the last 15 years, and I won't get into the details, but when this popped up, my first question to all parties was, do we have an incompatible use situation here? And in doing my review of what's taking place here, we have a huge operation that is providing an essential service to our healthcare system that has daylit itself, but would prefer to have remained completely under the radar. And there's a lot of firms and there's a lot of businesses operating in the industrial southeast that do so completely under. There's huge medical cannabis grow-ops. There's all kinds of stuff taking place in the industrial southeast that just likes to stay below the radar. I would suggest that the mustard seed shelter is one of those things. It's the kind of thing that they bring people who are making a pledge to be sober to. It's not the kind of thing that they are looking to sort of spill out into the neighborhood, and they are very self-contained. They're a very similar thing. In my estimation, we do not have an incompatible use here. We have two uses that are going to be best served by doing the business that they do, which is to stay below the radar to everyone and surround. Having said that, I respect the concern that ATS has. I think they will come to learn that this is not the issue that they fear it might be, but I understand that that's sort of cold comfort right now, not knowing what the future holds. I expressed to the proponents, or I expressed to the consultants for ATS that I'd be happy to support any amendment that is agreed upon. We heard from the Mustard Seed that they're in agreement. I will go on record saying I'm happy to support it if Councillor Sharp brings it, but I personally do not believe it's necessary. I also am concerned about the 2-year timeline, because it would be terrible to have to go through this whole process again, in 2 years if there's like a 6-month or an 8-month gap, especially because we're going to know if we have a problem a lot sooner than 2 years, and we're going to have to address that. The only other thing I'm going to say is that I am committed to sitting down with both parties, although they are already working in good faith with each other to make sure that the operational plans of both organizations do what they're supposed to do, which is to keep their respective operations completely self-contained and not bothering anyone and not impacted by anyone surrounding them. This is an essential service for the City of Calgary. We absolutely should support it. And thanks to the Mustard Seed for being accommodating of the concerns of neighbors, whether they are going to be borne out or not. I suspect they will not, given the 15, 16, 17-year history at their current site. I also look forward to this being a temporary site. I'm sure they don't like paying market rents. They would like to get back under an unleaky City of Calgary warehouse roof that has been, a facility that has evolved over time to serve their needs there. Anyway, I will listen to anything else that's debated and address any concerns in my close, but please support this.
Thank you. Councillor Spencer, you're seconding?
I am, yes. Yeah, lots has been said. I do see this as an extremely important, essential service. In my ward, there was a temporary shelter at a place of worship right next to IG, and even much closer than this is to commercial, and they were able to work through the operational concerns. And I just find the fact that Mustard Seed has been a good, faithful partner in our city for a very long time. They know how to operate a facility like this. They have a history of being a good neighbor. That, for me, mitigates many of the concerns that have been discussed today. And I really do appreciate the fact that they're already fully engaged in conversation with the neighbors. So I'm very happy to support, and thank you for the service that you offer.
Thank you. I don't see anybody else in the queue. Over to you to close, Councillor Carra.
I'm closed.
Thank you. E-scribe to vote, please.
Councillor Demong, your vote, please.
Yeah, I'm a yes.
Thank you, Councillor Vaughn. Councillor McLean, your vote, please. Oh, thank you. We've got that. And Councillor Carra, your vote, please.
I'm a yes as well.
Thank you. Mayor Gondek, all the votes are in.
Thank you. Could you display the results, please? That's carried 12-2 with Councillor McLean and Councillor Wong voting against. Before I go to the readings, Councillor Sharp, you were going to try to insert language around operating. Did you manage to get that?
Yeah, I think administration and clerks have that, so that we are addressing the concerns that Councillor Carra had around the post-occupying the building, the existing building. And so if there is issues with tariffs and things like that, but I'll let you bring it up and then I can explain it.
That sounds good. Thank you. All right, so first reading of bylaw 63D 2025. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that is carried. Councillor Sharp, you have an amendment.
Yeah, I do. We'll get it up on the screen. I know that there's been a lot of conversation between the two groups, and sometimes businesses are kind of on the opposite side of the spectrum, but we're still serving the same people in a way, which is really interesting here. And I know that the councillor has been working really diligently with both groups, and so we're coming up with a compromise. We have heard that the time frame and the amount of people are a concern. Council is going to take the direction of legal by being very careful on the amount of people, because this can be governed in different ways, and that development permit can work on that. The reason we want to look at the 2-year timeframe and making sure that there is some parameters around the operating is if you move out in the 2 years and it's up to a 5-year, another business like yours can move in there and council wouldn't even know about it, and maybe the residents around that, because it would just be a development permit. And so we're just putting some comfort with just some language around 2 years instead of 5 for the businesses in the area, which I know support the mustard seed, and so do we all support the mustard seed as well. But I think what it is just giving everyone a little bit more comfort in knowing that you have an opportunity to move in location, get your old location fixed. Hopefully you can move back, but if you find something different, that's great too. But also that the businesses that are in the surrounding area can still operate in the fashion they need to operate and with the safety concern around all of that. So with that, I'm open, and thanks, Councillor Craw. I know this is your area, but I did let you know that I would probably bring this, so I hope you're supportive of it.
Thank you. Councillor Chabot, you're wishing to second this?
Yeah, no, again, to add a little bit of context to Councillor Sharp's debate, I guess this comes down to providing some additional certainty for the adjacent landowners and what will ultimately be a temporary use. It's belts and braces. I appreciate that administration says they could put in whatever timeline is necessary, but I think there's an agreement between the applicant and the adjacent landowners that this will in fact only be a 2-year use. I think it's a good amendment and happy to support it. Hope you will as well.
Thank you very much. Ms. Goldstein, you were going to add something.
I just want to flag one consideration, and we are working on this on the fly, so we just want to be very clear here. So we're good with everything except for because the intent is that it's one development permit limited to this use. I think we need to specify that because they could take out a development permit for a renovation inside the facility and we would not be able to go forward on that. I just want to be really clear on that piece.
Okay, let's go to Councillor Walcott, please.
Thank you. So it's a kind of like a 2-part question. One's on the timeline. The 5-year one there's generic, 2 years is the agreed upon. So the question that I have is some of the speakers talked about actually making sure that it was to expire and not be applicable for renewal in any case. And usually after 5 years, if they want to try and come back here and do this again, they'd have to come to council, we'd have to restart. But the applicant some of the speakers talked about just making sure that that couldn't happen. I'm not sure if that's captured in this, and I want it to be clear, just because of some of the emerging challenges that we're having on an international scale about what might actually end up happening and who knows what will change in that time. I'm okay with 2 years to make sure that there's that heightened level of scrutiny. If, barring any emergencies, if they need to stay a little bit longer, that we can at least have that discussion in 2 years. Is that included in this concept?
The purpose statement does note that it would be just one development permit, which does imply that another development permit could not be applied for and approved based off of that purpose statement. Yeah. I don't believe the rules have been adjusted to match the purpose statement at the moment. Because the section number that does, section 7, does currently say 5 years. We're proposing up there to change it to 2 years, but it doesn't limit that only one DP may be applied for. So there might be a little bit of confusion between the purpose statement and the rule itself. The purpose statement would imply one DP only, no renewals.
Mm-hmm. So it's like in a scenario in which they have to renew that conflict, which supersedes the purpose statement of just one, or the rule that doesn't specify just one for the 2 years. And the reason I ask is because I would request is that one of the things, I'll be clear about my intentions here, is one of the things about working with anyone in the homeless shelter, anyone working in that industry, is that industry is so accommodating beyond standard business practices because the cost is so high. And so I hear there's the compromise, there's 2 years, and we've agreed that, oh, we'll do it in 2 years, we'll do our best. But that's just because the cost of deferral and the cost of losing is significantly higher than what most businesses would accept. So sometimes I think we're actually putting all this risk onto a vulnerable sector. And if we don't have to, or if we can at least provide that flexibility to just say that they are good for their word, they'll do what they can, but we're not going to be in a position in 2 years where we're going to have to remove them from a place that they're in and not have them have a home to go to because something happened with their renovation. I just want to make sure that that's not what's on the table. At least that flexibility exists.
Ms. Wilbur is going to weigh in on that.
Okay, I'm not sure I followed the entire length of your question, but what I am picking up on is some of the concerns I'm having trying to wrap my head around exactly what these amendments will do. And I think with just this, we do have a bit of difference between the purpose statement and the rules. And if there is an intent to only have one DP, then we should have a rule that reflects that, because otherwise I think that just creates confusion that, you know, on appeal, nobody's going to understand what to do with, let alone when a development authority is considering a DP. So perhaps if we were given some really clear direction about what amendments we're trying to achieve, if we were given a bit of time to take it back and make sure that we have precisely what you're looking for and that we've got matching purpose statements and the rules that we're bringing forward to amend, we could be certain that we're, or more certain that we're not inadvertently causing trouble. Does that help answer your question?
Yes, it definitely does. Again, it's just because the purpose statement says one DP, and we had a 5-year flexible time frame to do the work. And so we're still leaving the purpose statement at one DP, but we're limiting it to 2 years. And so if anything, I would look to say 3 years, so that there is some built-in flexibility on the end, just because.
Walcott, you're just at time.
Okay, that's all.
Thank you. Council, please check your mics. If you're not speaking, please make sure your mics are off. Can I ask a question? How much time does administration need to make sure that we've got this right?
Like no more than 15 to, like we can use the lunch break to do this, and then we would feel much more that everything is in line. I think we understand your intent. Oh, okay.
Okay, Councillor Chabot.
We have a friendly.
Yeah, so the proposed friendly is just to add the words one development permit for the temporary shelter use. After the words site limited to, and then adding words one development permit. It's up there.
So I'm going to suggest something, everybody. I don't think it's a bad idea to just end the item now and take a break. As soon as we come back at 1:15, let's make sure the language is right. This is too important for us to be taking for granted that we've got everything covered. And if administration can take the lunch break to sort it out, I think that's probably our best bet. I will get through the queue, though. Councillor Craw.
Yeah, I'm very supportive of taking a break to make sure we get the wording right. The nightmare scenario, of course, is that at 2 years' time, they need 3 more months. And there isn't been a problem, but there's no way to allow that 3-month extension to occur. So let's make sure that we can do that. I will note that, you know, we're doing a lot to accommodate the concerns of ATS, and if there is a problem, it's not going to be a problem 2 years from now. It's going to be a problem immediately, and we're going to have to address it. So this is a belt and a brace that's more about providing comfort than it is about providing real solutions to potential problems. And if there are potential problems, we're going to have to address those, and we will. Having said that, my only other point is that I'm going to be a little bit late coming home from lunch, so I've got a meeting that I can't reschedule, and so I don't know how you want to handle that, Madam Chair.
Going to be a problem because we have an item that starts at 1:15 that we timed specifically, so this is already interrupting that.
Can we move this to after the afternoon break, first thing after the afternoon break, so we can?
I'm not keen on that because we've got people who are waiting for a decision.
Okay, I understand that.
Okay. So if you can join remotely, that would be great. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wong.
You just answered it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So I don't think I need to do anything procedurally, Mr. Clerk, if we just call our lunch break now.
Correct, Mayor. The first new item after this item is concluded will be 7.2.6.
Okay. So we don't need to do anything procedurally to come back to this at 1:15.
No.
Okay.
You're just taking your lunch recess at this point.
Perfect. Okay, so for anyone who's following along, we're going to make sure we get the language right in the amendment. When we come back at 1:15, this item will carry on then. So we're going to take our break. 1:15, we'll be back. We'll have a look at the amendment, make sure it's strong, and then we'll vote on it. We'll do second and third readings at that point. Thank you.